Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. I wanted to talk about Landis Technologies Incorporated. I've been wanting to talk about them for a while now. What's pushed me forward is I saw a video that ToneTalk did where he wasn't all that crazy about this company. As a matter of fact, he's not too particular when it comes to rent to own. He feels as though that they're predatory. Well, guys, guess what? The two homes that I had that I did a gut rehab, I turned them into rent to own. So guess what? I'm actually for it. Okay. I'm not against it. I do see his point as far as predatory, but I don't think all of them are that way. All right. The other issue is, or the other thing that I wanted to bring up, or the other reason why I wanted to talk about it a little bit more is because I did mention that Will Smith has partnered with them, and recently also Jay-Z has partnered up with this startup company. Now, I will tell you this. The way this company does rent to own is not the way it was rent to own was done in the past. Okay? This company is doing it differently. And I also understand that there are several other companies that are also doing it the same way that this company is doing it as well. All right. So let me just tell you what this company does, and I will break down at the end. Or actually, you know what? No, I'm going to let you guys decide whether or not you like this company or you don't. All right. So Landis Technology Incorporated, what it is their goal is to provide affordable homes to lower income people. Now, the way they do it, like I said, is different from the way I did it. I actually bought the home, renovated the home, and then I got some what they call tenant buyers. They gave me a down payment, and then they paid me monthly. At the end of the term, they gave me a balloon payment. That's how it's supposed to work. Well, one of the tenant buyers, she went ahead and she got herself a new car right before she was to pay it off. And the car payments were actually more than the house payment. On top of that, she lost her job. So I said to her, listen, it's going to be either the house or the car. I had already gave her loan modifications and deferment and everything else like that. But the time had spent, right? So she sold the home. She got way more money than she put into it. And then I also got my half, which was a pretty nice, decent sum of money. So that's another reason why I don't feel as though it's predatory. It is, when done with the right person, with the right people. If you read your contract, it can be a win-win solution for both people. But I have seen some contracts where it clearly was not a win-win. So I understand why ToneTalk says that it's predatory, because probably the cases that he's dealt with, because he is a lawyer, those cases probably turned out negative because of the way the contract was written. That's why you got to always read the contract, right? Okay. Now, getting back to how Landis does it. Landis does not have any property to sell to you. What you do is you go out and you look for a home that you want. That home has to be between $110,000 and $400,000. Now, we all know that not every market is going to be able to accommodate this. If you're in New York, California, and possibly also Chicago, you know it ain't going to work, right? So this, of course, is in more affordable markets. Now, they do require that you put down 2%. Their term is 1 to 2 years. My term and the term of most other people who do rent to owns is 5 to 7 years. So that's another difference between what I do and what they have done. Okay. The next thing they do is they pay for the inspection and the appraisal. They actually do that for you as well. Now, the other requirement is that you have to have a 550 credit score. Some people that do it my way may not necessarily have a requirement when it comes to the credit score. A lot of times, the credit score can be a little bit lower, maybe like 500 or even 450. The main goal is, do they have enough money for the down payment? And when you look at their career, how long have they been working in that career? How long have they been working in that job? When you're doing it rent to own our way, that is actually a little bit more important than their credit score. Okay. The next thing is that with Landis, they want to see that your income is at least $30,000 and that you can afford to pay $2,500 a month. When you do it my way, the income really depends on how much you're selling the house for. And normally it's something like 36% of the income. So it may be 30, it may be a little bit more, or it may be a little bit less. Okay, there's normally a formula that is used. Okay, next, when it comes to Landis, if you don't like the house after you're living there for a year or so, they refund you a percentage of your money. In some other rent to own, the way I do it, there are some contracts that have it the same way, and then there are some contracts where it is not refundable. Okay, so that's why it's important to know. And then the other thing too that I need to mention is their way is more lease option. And if you know the law, you know that lease option is not legal everywhere. So that's another limitation as far as where this program can be applied. It cannot be applied everywhere. All right. Now, there are other people who, yes, they do lease option. Me, I prefer, there's lease purchase, but my main preference is owner financing. See, when you do lease option, the home stays in Landis's name. It doesn't transfer over to you until the end of that year or 2 years. That's when the title transfers into your name. When I do it as an owner finance person, the house immediately goes into your name. Okay, so what makes the difference? Landis can evict you if you do not pay on time, right? On my end, if you don't pay for 3 months straight, I'm going to foreclose on you. So here are the differences. With Landis and with mine, there are fees, but I believe the fees that Landis charges is a lot higher than the fees that people like myself may charge. Okay. Now, there are other requirements as well. With Landis, normally the rent goes up 4% after that first year. Okay, now with people like me, the rent does not go up. The rent stays the same throughout the entire time, the entire term that we have for you. And like I said, mine is going to be 5 to 7 years. I do know some people who do 10 years as well. It stays the same. It never goes up. Okay. But theirs will go up 4%. The other thing is that Landis only wants you to get houses that were built in 1978 or newer. Me, because we're rehabilitating it, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter whether or not when the house was built. Now, granted, I don't want to do a house that's too old, because if you do a house that's too old, typically you have to rewire, and you might even have to take out all the plumbing lines and put them back in, and that's pretty expensive. Okay, but I do know people who will go after homes that may be older than that. And then I have Landis also does fully renovated homes. I also do fully renovated homes, but I have heard of people who don't do fully renovated homes as well. So again, things vary, and that's why you have to read the contract to know, okay, which is better for me moving forward. You have to read the contract, and after you read the contract, every time you see a number, you need to write that number down and do your calculations. Some people will actually give their contract either to a financial advisor or to their accountant. The accountant can't go over any legalese, right? But they can definitely go over the numbers for you so that you know exactly how much you're paying. And if they don't understand, they'll ask questions that you probably don't know to ask. So it doesn't hurt the same person that does your taxes to send the contract to them and let them know, listen, I know you're not a lawyer, but you know how to add numbers, right? And also, of course, if you get a contract, it's good to give it to a lawyer, because again, the lawyer will ask questions that you don't know to ask. It's even better if you have a tax attorney, because they pretty much know the right questions to ask for the most part, right? Now, the other issue, as far as it being predatory, again, like I said, it depends on the contract. Some contracts look predatory to me, some don't. Also, it's not, rent to own is really not only for poor people, if you will. And then you also have different levels of poor. Okay, because if you're making less than $30,000, you probably should not be buying a house per se. It really depends on where you live. Let me scratch that for a second. It depends on where you live, and it depends on how much the property is that you plan on buying, because you do have those Section 8 housing vouchers that do help people out a lot. But in the event, really, honestly, if you're not on Section 8 and you are a working person, you should save your money. You should also look at grants. home ownership grants, because you can apply the home ownership grants to this particular program from what I understand. All right. Now, in addition to that, I wanted to also say that sometimes people who do rent to own, sometimes it's a person who is from another state and the job that they were working at has moved to another state, and it's not a job that they can work virtually. It's a job that they have to actually be in the office. So in that particular instance, some of those people, the job may move in an area where there are no apartments for them to rent, or the apartments to rent are too far away from the job. So what they do is they'll look for rent to own to see if they like a house or not. Okay. The other people that will do rent to own are people who have a criminal past. It may be a very sordid criminal past, and some of the big banks will not loan to those who have committed certain crimes. Even if it was like 20 years ago, I have been told by a banker that they will not loan any money to criminals. And I know that some of them, they may loan to criminals, but they may not loan if it's a particular crime, like child molestation, something like that. They may be hesitant. They may not tell you that's what it is, but they may deny you. So because of this, a lot of times they will go and buy a home, and they'll buy a home this way because they can't buy it the traditional way. Okay. So I'm here to level it out and let you know that sometimes rent to own is the best way for a person, and that not all of them are predatory. Some are, but not all. All right, so I went over the reviews just like ToneTalk did, and for the most part, most realtors love this program because it helps them qualify more people to buy homes. There was, I believe, one or two realtors that didn't like it because something happened where at the last minute the closing was called off. Okay, so we're just hearing one side. I don't believe Landis responded, so you didn't hear. I don't know what the other side could have been as to why that happened. Maybe that one employee that they dealt with was incompetent, or maybe there was some other circumstances that occurred that caused something like that to happen. Okay. But the other realtors, the majority of realtors love this program. That's what I saw. When it came to people who actually loved the program, who were actual homeowners, home buyers, I would say it was a 60-40 split. There was, I would say 60% were not happy and 40% were very happy that they took on this particular program. One of the reviews that I read, it was a little confusing because they were saying how the house had bed bugs and all this other kind of stuff. And my thing is, I had a question mark with that because they don't construct homes. They don't renovate homes. They just do the inspection and do the appraisal. That should have definitely come up in the inspection and the appraisal, and the fact that it didn't, that's a little strange to me. But then again, you know what? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. See, back in the day, bed bugs was not necessarily a problem, so they wouldn't have found that. They would definitely find termites. But nowadays, because bed bugs is an issue, and I know that in my state, it's a requirement. Other states may not have that requirement. So I'm not sure if that review was an accurate review. If that was maybe like their competition saying something negative, or if that was a fact, right? But all I would say is this: if you are going to join this program, reading that particular review, you may want to eventually get your own person to inspect or look through the house yourself to make sure that there aren't any excessive problems that will, hurt you financially down the road. Because it's one thing to buy a home, but it's another thing to actually keep the home. You understand me? So I would say, these reviews, you can find them on Google. I would say, as far as whether or not I like the company or I don't, it's hard to say. What I see on paper doesn't sound so bad. But when I look at the reviews and I see that 60% in my mind of the homeowners are not all that crazy about it, a question mark does come up. And I would just do a little bit more research. I would see, whether or not, like, of the people who liked it, what state did they come from? I would go back into the Google reviews and see if there's a way that you can respond to the people who gave a positive review. Find out, did they come from your area? Because sometimes it's not the company as a whole. Sometimes it's one employee or two. I'm going to do a crazy comparison right now, right? It's like when you go to the nail salon. You go to the nail salon, you know that out of the 10 nail technicians that are there, you probably, from what you notice, only 5 of them are good, right? So this may be the case, like as far as some of the people who gave the negative reviews, that might have been the case where it wasn't the company, but the employee that they dealt with, the case manager, if you will, may not have done their job, allegedly, very well, right? And also another thing that I've noticed, it's a relatively small company. I believe they've been around for 5 years. They have less than 50 employees. That can be an issue, depending on, like, do they have enough people to process all the work that's coming towards them? Especially now that Jay-Z and Will Smith has decided to invest. And since they are going to invest, they'll probably make a lot of changes. And when a lot of changes are being made, sometimes employees are not always given all of the information that they need to do their job properly. And sometimes things slip through the wayside when that happens as well. So I would say right now, for me, it's a question mark. I'm not going to totally trash the company, but I'm going to definitely, if it was me looking for a home using this program, I would definitely ask more questions. I would be, speaking to more people. I would ask them for referrals, their own referrals. I would also ask if I could see some of the properties that they approved of in the area that I was looking into, to see if that is a fit for me. So I would like to know, how do you guys feel about this particular program? Do you think it's great? Do you Are you thinking about maybe trying this out now that you know that there is an alternative and maybe it fits either yourself or someone that you know that would be interested? Or do you think that it's predatory? Do you think that it's trash? Let me know in the comments on my YouTube channel. Okay, guys, so that's basically it. That's what I wanted to share with you. Hopefully, it'll help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.